Hey, what's up, brother?
Just racking and stacking them, brother.
We are, aren't we? We pretend we're busy, even if we're not, don't we?
Well, this is our fourth interview in as 2 days, and we have yet another one to go today. So we are just finding amazing people to interview and getting them in the rotation for building wins.
It is. It's great. It is fun to build wins with good people, is it not?
You know what? And we have not found a dud in the bunch, which is just amazing.
We have. That's true because we've been. I know we've been. We'd have to do the count one of these days, but I know we're well over 100. I think I guess, and we haven't had it, like you said, no duds at all. They've been all
Not
great.
a one, not a one. I have to tell you, Randy, when you're out there doing the hybrid road warrior move that you do, I do on occasion, it's nice to be able to have great people that we can put up on Fridays and again on Monday with the audio that just do exactly what the name implies, and that is build wins.
It is, and that's a really good segue because we was talking to our guest today, Karen Wiand, and we talked about the book Fast Eddie that we're going to talk about today, and a little, you know, Eddie's somebody that Karen and I both grew up with, if you will. We go way back into the same high schools, and nothing screams build wins more than Eddie's story because as Karen will tell the story, but we all start with a lot more to start with, I guess, or at a place that Eddie didn't have the luxury of starting with. And so it really, really fits building wins. So I don't know. What do you think? You and I want to talk, or should we bring Karen on? That is why we're all here.
I think Karen is going to be a much better guest and a much better looking one than me. So by all means, let's bring her on.
Well, we do look good on Mondays when we drop the audio podcast.
On the audio, we are superstars, no
We
doubt
are
about
best looking, best looking. I think we're the best looking every day on there. But all right, well, let's do it. Let's go talk to Karen.
that. Absolutely.
All right, brother. Hey, there she is, live from Traverse City, Michigan, huh?
Hello. Yes.
It's it's we already established that it's balmy in Traverse City today.
I guess balmy is 40
Yeah. Okay. Well, for Traverse City,
balmy
compared to
for January, right?
for January compared to what it was, around Christmas time, right? It was pretty
Oh, we
chilly.
had a big blizzard. Yeah,
Yeah.
big blizzard.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little different
We
now. Yeah.
we watched on the cameras up there, and we watched the snow pile up a little bit and looked at the. I go, okay. I'm even when it got cold here in southern Florida, which it did. It was 58, 59 for high a few days, which I know, yeah, Crimea River, right? But anyway,
Yeah,
it
right.
was
Buy
it
a
was cold.
coat.
Yeah, but they don't have them here. We now they do. But so Karen, welcome. I appreciate you coming on. It's great
Thank
to
you
have you.
so much.
Well,
Yeah.
you're welcome. I enjoy your book tremendously. I get it so the light doesn't show. Fast Eddie. Um, and as we was talking, as I talked with Wes, so you and I both went to the same high school, 3 years apart, a small little
Yep.
town in Middle Michigan, Carson City. And um, when I saw your book, and I go, it just something struck me, and then I go, that's Eddie. That's the Eddie I know. And then I recognized who you were, or remembered who you were, and so I bought your book on Amazon, I think, or wherever I bought it, and then you were so kind as to send me one too, signed, which I appreciate. But so let's just tell us about Fast Eddie because you want to talk about building wins. Fast Eddie has built wins his whole life, right? And I just really love you to tell the story. I'm gonna actually gonna it's gonna be hard for me because I'm a sales guy at heart, and a second heart a podcast guy, and so it's hard for me to shut up sometimes. But I really really want to hear your story about your book and about Fast Eddie and how this thing. So take us through that life, if you will.
Okay, let's go back to where it all started for Eddie. And well, where it started for him and me. I met him when I was 8 years old. We bought some property from his parents, and who not adopted him but took him in um, uh, when he was a baby. And was removed from a home and about I think it was at Lakeview, and they found his siblings begging for food, and social services came to get them. And then when they came to the house, they discovered Eddie under a pile of stuff, and he'd been rat bitten and just malnourished and in horrible shape. And this social worker saved his life, and he had a series of that kind of stuff happening as well in his life. And she came the next day and took him and put him up for adoption. And before I ever knew them, his parents, the Sims, went ahead and brought him home, and because they couldn't have kids at the time. Then of course they did after. Um, and he started an amazing life with them. He just went from zero to, all of a sudden he's like scoring, anything he could ever want. So, and actually he built that. He attracted all that, and which we all do. We attract everything. So
Right.
he started out, and then it's from then on, it's been his bike. His bike has been his networking tool ever since he was little. He started off on his bike. His mother, because of his disability, he couldn't quite get the connection of how to get the pedals, to get your feet in the pedals. So she took shoestrings and tied his shoes to them, so he could stay with the pedals. And he was just off, and from that point on, he was on a bike. And everyone knew him from Carson City on a bike. He was his road warrior, he would call it, and we always started calling him Fast Eddie because of that. So
Yes,
he
we
was
remember.
pretty famous.
He was famous in the area. We all remember. Small little town, right? 1,201 people. When I left, it was 1,201 people.
Yeah.
They never did switch that back
Yeah.
to 1197, which I felt like they should have when we left. But anyway, it was 1,201 people, and I still remember. It's I can envision him right now. You see him almost every day, someplace out on the side roads, in town. It didn't matter. Eddie got around as much as any of us did with our cars. Maybe not quite as far, but he got around.
He got around, but he would get to more places than we would ever think. We'd go to Greenville, people would know him. He'd go the neighboring towns, people knew him. And
Wow.
that's what happened when I connected with him again. I found him living in a pretty horrible place in Highland, in an adult foster care home. And it was a horrible place with plastic on the windows. He had no heat source for his room. They were taking his money every month for his Social Security, because it was gravy. And so Eddie would be wandering around, and then sooner or later, he after he'd been there for 7 years, he started developing cataracts. So they took his bike away from him, because of course he couldn't be on the road then. Took the bike away. Then taking that bike away from Eddie was everything. I mean, it was
Right.
that was his networking. So he would be just walking, and when I met him, again, I went to see him, and he got to like 2 inches from my face, and I was like, Eddie, you remember me? I'm thinking, boy, he'll freak. And he said, well, I know it's been a long time. I didn't realize how bad his eyesight was, but yeah, that was one thing we had to get over, which we did. He had his kids. He finally got surgery. I kept pushing for that. That happened, and then he's off on his bike again. And it was, but he never complained once about anything. It's just he's just not a complainer. Yeah, that's the magic in him.
And that is big magic, right? Is he took what was there and he made the best out of it, and developed the best life he could build in a nice, and really, I think, and for what I remember, Eddie he's a happy guy. He was always a happy guy. No matter what it was, no matter what was happening, he was just happy to talk to people, be with people, and just be out and about, right?
Yes, and he's very good at. If it was one thing that I'll say about Eddie, he uses his emotional guidance system. Does that make sense? We all have an
Okay,
emotional
more,
guidance system
right?
where we want to feel good, right? And Eddie has a way of following that guidance and saying, "Does this feel good? I'll go there. If it doesn't, I'm not going there." It's really helped him throughout his life get to where he wants to be, and so he has always been able to say, for instance, there's a church he joined in Traverse City. He starts joining churches, and there was people that were mean to him. So the next calls me and tells me he left the church. I said, why? He said, because people are mean to me. I'm going to go someplace else. He doesn't expect things to change for him. He changes.
Gotcha.
So he follows that amazing guidance, and
Wow.
he finds the best way he wants to feel. He finds the way he wants to feel, and he goes that way. That's the best way I can describe his happiness. You know, if that's
Yeah.
the first thing in the morning he thinks about, and the last thing before he goes to bed, how happy he is.
Wow. That's a big lesson. A lesson we could all learn
Yeah,
from, right?
yeah, it works for him. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you met Eddie when you were 8, and I'm trying to put a
hmm
timeline onto this. Where would Eddie's age been at that point in time?
He was about 15.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So that would make sense because I'm 3 years older, 8, 9, 10. So I was about 11. Yeah, that makes sense. I always figured he was about 4, 5, 6 years older than I. So that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, he was. Yeah. So let's go back. Your family, you just did so much for him back in Carson City, and then you lost touch. How did he end up from that area, the Carson City, Greenville? He probably went to Alma and St. John. Who knows where he went on his bike? If it was within daylight, he probably got there and back. How did he end up in Highland, and how did that all go down?
Well, he when he was in Carson City, I think I pretty much after I got into college, he was still there for a few years, but his father died, and his brother ended up in the Detroit area, and so his brother had his mother come and live with them to help take care of their son. They just had a son, so Eddie went with them, but there was not enough room for Eddie. He lived around a little bit, but then he was put into some adult foster care homes in the Flint area, which he had some interesting experiences in, not great areas. And it took a few years, but his mother said, "I want to live with him, so I'm buying to use my money, buy myself a house," and they did together. And that was in Linden, town in
Okay.
Linden, which is not far from Flint. And so they did that for a while until his mother had to be put in a nursing home because she started having hip problems and knee problems. She had some falls. So she went into the nursing home. That happened. This is when the whole Thailand thing happened. He
Oh,
was
okay.
living in Linden for a while. They couldn't make ends meet, so they put him in this adult foster care home, which is where he was when I met him again.
So curious if you don't mind saying, how did you'd lost touch? How did you end up finding out that he was in Highland of all
Oh
places?
yeah. Well, my sister, a friend of ours sent us an article because he was featured in, I think, the Flint Journal, where there was a parade in his honor in Linden because he was given this honor because he was saving the planet by recycling cans and bottles, which is what Eddie does. He collects
Hmm.
cans and bottles, turns them in. It's a win-win for
Right.
him and for everybody. And he's always had this. He can find a bottle under a blanket of leaves like nobody's business. And he knows how he's got an eye for it. He is very, very good at it. Still today, he does it. He collects bottles. People actually bring him bags of bottles now. And when I saw him again, he was collecting bottles. He had people dropping off bottles to him. They'd have people bottles outside their house. I would say, let's go see your mother at the nursing home, which she was in the nursing home. So I'd go pick him up and go take him to see her. On the way, he'd have 4 or 5 places I had to stop. I had to stop, get us free coffee. I had to stop here. I had my friend over here. I called this guy my uncle. We got to stop at his house all the way here. And then I got to get my mom flowers. I mean, I always do this. I'm like, Eddie, we're never going to get there. We're never going to get there. So we got to get there. So it was like an hour drive. So, but he, that's his networking. Whether he's on a bike or whatever he's doing, he collects people like they're jewels. It's incredible. Um, what a
Yeah.
networker he is.
The,
Yeah.
and that's one of the intriguing things about the story. And I've read your book once and skimmed back through it the second time, and it's very well written, by the way. And I recommend
Thank
this to
you.
everybody. It truly is not your typical. It's not a sales book. It's a book about Eddie and his life, and but it's a it's a win building life because and the lessons that you get from that. You talked about networking. That's something we all do, and no matter what it doesn't matter what industry you're in, what profession we're in, what we do. We're networkers, right? If you want to grow and you want to be successful, you have to network. And man, you're right, and you hit it on right on the nose. There's nobody better networker than Eddie. He was world class at it.
Yeah, he still does.
Yeah,
He
that's
still
amazing.
does. Yeah.
So when's the
I
last
get
time you
phone
saw
calls every
Eddie?
day about people.
Oh, go
Oh,
ahead. I'm sorry.
yesterday, I take him to the
Really?
doctor. He lives in Traverse City now. He
Right.
lives in an organization. We found an organization called Brickways, and they house and give services to people with intellectual disabilities. And it was founded by Mary Jean Brick from Traverse City, whose son developed some disabilities and was in the ended up in the big Michigan, the big Traverse City State Hospital before it
Mm-hmm.
closed. And she noticed how bad things were there. The things weren't getting better for patients. So she said, this place is closing down anyway. I'm going to set something up myself. So she and another concerned person set up their own little administration and their own little way to house people. And she went out there and she'd find them, and she'd take somebody. If she were Eddie, she'd take him to a store, a hardware store, and she'd say, something, Eddie here's going to work for you for the day. He's going to sweep your floors. He goes, okay, okay. People just did what she said because she
Sure.
wanted the people. Her whole goal was to have these people in the community, and have them part of the community, have them for their personal gain and for everyone's gain. And she was incredible. She was a networker herself, and she was incredibly talented and devoted her life to it, actually, because of her son. What happened to his son?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's
That's pretty.
benefited from that.
Exactly. That's pretty amazing
Yeah.
itself. So it's funny. Uh, as we had mentioned, I think off air, I spend my summers in the Traverse City area, just up the bay. So we're in Traverse City all the time, and I'm gonna have to keep a lookout now for Eddie because I've probably seen him and just didn't recognize I saw him, right? So now
Yeah.
I'll have to shout out and see if he remembers me. That'd be fun to reacquaint.
He does have the bike with the trailer. He does
He
have the
does. Okay.
trailer.
So
It's yeah, he
this is
does
sort of
have
it
it.
right here, huh?
That's sort of it. And then and he does have it, he fills it with bottles, cans and bottles. He collects them, he collects it. He likes to it's part of the thing he does every day. I mean, he's out to this morning riding.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
So I think it's amazing, and it's a testament to you, Karen, and your family, but that you still, after all these years, because we won't go into numbers because it's more than we want to think about probably, but it's been a lot of years since Carson City days, right? Since high
Oh
school,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
don't you dare bring up how many, but because I know, and it's a lot.
I promise.
Okay, but
You made me promise before we went on the air.
I did, yes, I did make a promise because whatever you say, mine's 3 years worse. So it's been a while, and but
Right.
it's it's amazing that you know this is a guy that just you'd probably look at his start and what he was up against, and he never. I think you hit on something that's really vitally important. Is he just always looked for what makes him happy today? What can I do today to
Hmm.
make me happy, make my life better? And he wasn't looking for necessary stuff, right? He wasn't looking for anything other than I have a good feel about this person, so I'm going to be their friend, or I don't want to be here and I'm not going to be here. Yeah, that's a pretty huge lesson, right? That we can learn from.
Well, isn't it like everything? It's if we create everything we have for ourselves, then we have to be we're wise to follow that emotional guidance system that Eddie follows. Feels good to me, I'm going there.
Yeah.
What doesn't feel good to me, I'm not going to go there. It would be serve us all well if we would follow that guidance more often. We'd probably make better decisions. We'd be more sure of ourselves.
Oh,
Yeah,
no
more
doubt. No,
confident with ourselves. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. And no doubt, because and I think we all get very wrapped up in stuff we want, goals we
Hmm.
set. And then I'm a goal guy. I'm all about setting goals and that. But I think we lose sight of the fact that is this destination I'm looking for and the journey I'm on to get there, does it make me happy? Is that what I really want to do? Because if it doesn't, maybe I need to adjust it, change it, massage it, or
Hmm.
walk away from it, right?
Yeah, yeah. And if that you follow that guidance, all you're looking for is, am I happy right now?
Yeah,
Because right now is all there is.
true.
Right now is this the only moment you can make the choice to feel better. You can't make it yesterday because it's gone. You can't make it tomorrow because it's not here yet. So
Exactly.
you have right now. Right now is the most important moment you'll ever have, and Eddie knows that. Right?
Yeah,
How do I feel right now?
that's
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome. So what is does the community in Traverse City? I know he obviously was well loved around around the Carson City area. How I guess before we even go there, I'm not sure we touched on, and I believe he talked about it in the book, but how did he end up did he end up in Traverse City because that's where you're at and he wanted to be close and you wanted him close
Well,
or closer?
we've had a place. We have a place. We used to well, it was our cottage on Long Lake. We had it for years. And I knew I was going to move up here, so I thought, it's probably wiser for me to get Eddie up there because I'm going to live up there, and because when I was in Bloomfield Hills where I first lived, um, I was visiting him then. It'd be like a 8-hour day. I'd be
Hmm.
going to get him, going to get his stuff, get food for him, getting home, messing around a little bit, and it's 8 hours.
Right,
So getting up because I was up north like every week, so
right,
I
right.
could. It's easier to see him there, so I got him up there. My husband helped so much and found him housing, and just things just kind of lined up. When you let things work out for you, they do. Um, and so, everything, the housing lined up, the people lined up, Tim Brick with the brick wheels lined up. Eddie gets us all his bikes. Um, all his networks have always lined up. And he's because he works off inspiration, not so much motivation. He works off inspiration. I want to have a good day. So things show him what a good day he's going to have. He plans
Hmm.
his day that way. I'm gonna have a great day. This is gonna be a great day. It's great. I'm gonna have a great day. And
Wow.
he'll call me and tell me I'm just being happy. I don't even know why I'm happy. I'm just happy. And that's our side of our converse. A lot of our conversations. I'm just so happy. I don't even know why.
Wow.
It's just fabulous. Yeah.
That is fabulous, and it's just like I said, so much to learn from that is just I'm gonna have a happy day. I'm gonna have a great day,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
because so much of uh, that we talk about, we had a guest recently on Building Wins Live and talked about that whole concept of mindset, right? And putting yourself in the proper mindset and enjoy the journey because, like you said, to
Mhm.
hit on so well, you can learn from yesterday. Uh, you can plan and hope for tomorrow, but really there is only you know the next 5 minutes, the next breath, right? I mean, technically that's all we have. So
Mhm.
if you're dwelling too much on that past, which is something Eddie never did, or you're planning too far for the future, which may or may not ever come, just you're missing all that time right now to be happy and joyful, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's a magic moment right now.
it is. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
So what have we not touched on? Because I want to, as we kind of wind down, I want to make sure that we touch on anything that you want the folks to know about. Number one, they can go to the streaming across the bottom and go to your website and see a little bit more about you and about Eddie. Can they buy the book there and all? Where else can they get a hold of your book?
Yeah, I think there's a link there. Just Amazon.com. The
Yes.
book's right on there. Yeah. Yeah, as a matter of fact, the first book signing I did was at Horizon Books. Maybe you've been there. You
Oh
probably
yeah.
have.
Yes.
You have to, well, they have Horizon, and so Eddie and I walk in, and they're like everybody at the bookstore saying, "Hi, Eddie. Oh, this book's about you." I mean, he doesn't care where it is. He likes to meet
Wow.
people. So
That's pretty
everybody
cool.
there knew him. Yeah, yeah. He gets around. He doesn't care. He doesn't discriminate. He gets
That's
around. If he likes you, he likes you.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And if you don't, he'll find somebody else he does, which is okay too.
yeah. That's how it works.
That's how it
Yeah.
works. So Amazon or at KarenWiand.com. And
Yes.
so I can tell you, folks, by the way, I'm gonna do, if it's okay with you, and I've been doing a weekly book recommendation. I'm gonna do one shortly on your book, separate from this podcast. But I really want people to read this book because as I said, you know, this Wes and our Building Wins live show is really about building wins, right? And we talk about this a lot, and I love this aspect. It's not just sales wins, which is my world as far as what I do. It's wins are wins, right? Spiritual wins, health and fitness wins, relationship wins, all wins just build upon each other, and that's why I really love the story about Eddie. Is that he's a winner, man. You know, Class A, number one, uh, bigger winner than most people I know that probably won in the lottery of life, if you will, and they've got all the stuff, right? But nobody is. I would dare. I'm not saying nobody. It would be challenging to find people as happy in the moment as Eddie is, and that's an important lesson for us all, I
That's
think.
true. That's very true. That's very true. You ask him, he's won the lottery.
Yeah,
You ask him.
yeah,
He's the one.
yeah,
He's lucky.
yep.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Well, and that's why it's great. It's great what you've done all these years, you and your family, and still do for Eddie. And so I want to applaud you for that. That's amazing. Um,
Thank you.
but I think that I'm going to guess that when I say this, that you agree that all the stuff that you've done for Eddie, he's probably done 1,000x more for you, just with what he's taught you and just the relationship and the friendship and the things that you've learned along the way, right?
Oh yeah, it was eye opening. It's been eye opening, and it still is. And it's fun, kind of funny because I give Eddie asked me to if he could sell a book on his own. I said sure. Why don't you go do that? And so I give him like 20 books, and in 2 days they're gone. I said, Eddie, who's buying these books? He goes, friends, people I meet. And he's selling. He just
Oh,
goes around selling books. He is a salesman.
that's
He's a
awesome.
salesman.
Oh,
Yeah.
could it get any better than back? Hi, my name is Eddie. Would you like to buy a book about me? I mean, it don't get any better than that, does it?
Yeah. It doesn't get better than that.
And I can tell you right now, I've got two of your books. One is up in Elk Lake that I bought on Amazon, and one you were so kind to send me signed, which I appreciate. Um,
Yep.
if I see Eddie this summer in the streets, I will buy a book from Eddie just because.
Oh, he would be so tickled. He
I'm
would
going to
be so
look for him. I'm going to look for him and ask him if he's got a book. The only thing is, if he doesn't have one with him, I may have to wait because he'll probably go all the way back to your house to get one and bring it back to me.
He'll find a way, and then
Yeah,
he'll ask you for your phone number. He'll put
yeah.
you in his rotation. And you'll get a call.
There you
I
go.
guess.
Hey, that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
So as we wind down, number one, thank you for writing the book. Thank you for what you've done with Eddie all these years, and appreciate you being on the show. And as we kind of get out of here, any last words that you would like folks to think about as we end this thing?
Just think about how happy you are. Just be happy.
Be happy. I think that's great advice. That's great advice, period. I think we can end that on that. There's nothing better to be said, I think.
Yep. You have a choice every moment.
Every moment. Every moment, be happy. Be happy like Fast Eddie. Learn from Fast Eddie. And buy the book. All right. Karen,
Thank you.
thank you for being on. I appreciate you. All right.
Thanks so much.
See you. Betcha. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Fast Eddie. Karen Wiand, my old time friend. And I say old time, but goes back a while, from the little town of Carson City. Seriously, folks, I read a lot of books. I read a lot of books about sales, inspiration, motivation, networking, building wins, and there is no bigger win builder than Fast Eddie, somebody that I grew up watching him ride his bike around Carson City, as we just talked about. And he's a networker, he's a winner. Happiness right now, today, this moment. That's what it's all about. So it's all about. So with that said, love what you do and do what you love, right? Live it, love it, and own it, because we only get one go around. And as always, make today your best day ever. Till tomorrow. Cheers, my friends.